All right, what is going on, men and women? It is Shane Dreyer or Storytime's of Crimes here. Let me just crack an original Loganberry in a bottle. All right, so okay, look, get a couple of Altoids here. Before we go into today's story, I do want to throw out a disclaimer. The stuff you're about to hear both involve inhaling something, and both have the potential to cause great damage to your lungs. One of these two stories involves something that barely anybody knows anything about what's inside these things, and they're not really making you trip anyways. And the second story, if you do enough of these, you can cause damage to your lungs to the point where it kills you, or it's been reported that people have just simply dropped dead from doing this stuff. So it's going to be a 2-in-1 story time, classic Shane Dreyer style. It's going to be about these quote-for-quote mushroom inhalant vapes, or mushroom vapes, and Whippets. And the two times that me and a lot of people went insane with these two things. So we'll start off with this quote for quote mushroom vape. So the shroom vape came from the Native American reservation. However, the companies that make these, the Native Americans are not involved in the making of these things, and it has been reported by good YouTubers, and I will mention one. He recently actually made a video about this, and it did remind me of my stories here. That these things, you don't know what's in these vapes, you know. It could be anything. When Goblin went through it, because these companies have to have some test results, you know what I mean? Or they're not going to sell their product. And like Goblin says, the average human cannot read a test result sheet very well. But Goblin was able to, and he seen that there were things like arsenic, which are like metal, like poisonous metal. Just terrible things, but like things like psilocybin and stuff weren't in this. So basically what I'm saying is it's like buying acid from a sketchy person, or even just acid in general. There's a chance that you're inhaling research chemicals. I remember when we bought this shroom vape, I remember opening the package on the way home. It was me and a couple buddies, and we, all went out with some money and went on a crazy splurge on the reservation. But the one thing I picked up was a mushroom vape. And this was back when I had my Dodge Hemi 1500 4-door truck, and I was still living in hotels. Upon hitting this vape for the first time, did I not, and that's how I knew it was research chemicals, because did I not trip per se? But I was definitely 101% not sober. I wasn't tripping, but it was like in between tripping and like being stoned, but like more like aware. You know what I'm trying to say? And actually less anxiety. I am not condoning this because I happen to get a good batch of research chemicals, right? But in general, you can fuck yourself up. I happen to have a blast. In fact, it was one of the best highs I've ever had from anything. And it wasn't addicting either. It wasn't like a crack or a Percocet high, which I have done before. It was like non-addictive and non-craving, but it was incredibly cool. However, it was very powerful and very debilitating. So, the same sentiment runs through everyone. Everyone passes this fucking shroom pen or cart or vape, whatever the fuck, around in a circle in the hotel room, and everyone gets fucking retarded high, for lack of better words. And, my one buddy, I had my truck. I wasn't trying to drive on this thing. But I was like starting to trip out at this point. I'd hit this thing probably like 10 times now within the span of like a half hour. And I now started to feel like, not like I was tripping again, but like I was fucking, excuse my language, obliterated. I was annihilated, destroyed. I was that high. I could barely walk straight. And I'm not like weird or queer or whatever. I couldn't even like walk. I was walking funny. And let me take a drink here. The same sentiment is being felt around almost everyone in the room because everyone's hit this at least 10 times. Some have hit it like 20 times or chiefing it. One guy was chiefing it, and he like didn't black out, or we would have called the ambulance, but he was like on the floor like tripping, like with his eyes open, like shaking. It was weird as fuck. And so my other buddy who had brought a car, and my other two buddies, so 4 of us, piled into his car, and I was in the back seat. And this dude was tripping off of this cart. Not literally, but he was fucked up off the research chemicals. And he took his car, going probably like 100 miles an hour in some zones where it was 30, 40, 50. And strangely, usually he was a good driver, but no one's this good. He would like take it to the point where we were almost about to hit like a wall or a building and just like hit the brakes and cut the wheel to where we would almost miss. Or like almost not make it, I should say. And he did this, what I just described there, probably like 30 times before finally my one buddy, because I was gone, I was tripped out. The one buddy said stop, and he demanded, he was threatening him at this point, telling him to take us home because he almost killed us almost 30 times. But kept somehow not crashing. It was actually incredible. I never forgot that. So he drove us back to the hotel and dropped us off. At this point, everyone is geeked at the hotel because we hadn't hit the cart. The cart was left with the other people at the hotel. So I hit it some more. We're geeking so bad at this point that my one buddy keeps walking over the window and like pushing the curtain aside real quick and putting it back like he hears something, or is like trying to be like faster. It was so strange the way he was acting, but I couldn't blame him. I was so fucked up off these research chemicals that I couldn't even speak. I was having such bad anxiety. I thought my heart was going to explode. And so at this point, I go back to my room, and now everyone's knocking on my door because some of the people are trying to get away from some of the other people. So I let people in my room, and then like I get overwhelmed. This is during the summertime. I get overwhelmed, and the beginning of the summer. I get overwhelmed, and I sprint out of the hotel room, just running. Left my key behind, and everyone in my room, and all my stuff. No one stole from me because they're my friends, but like some of them were still known to be thieves. But no one still stole from me. But it was the idea. I sprinted right behind this motel we were at. It was a patch of woods. I sprinted out in the woods, and I was getting so strange. I started raking out and stuff. Like I didn't care, and I saw weird things at the hotel before this happened, like in the woods, like creatures and shit. Then I swear to God, I did. I saw a skinwalker, a rake, and I went out there and crouched down. It was like humming and whistling. And it was dude. Obviously, it sounds like I was tripping. I wasn't. It's not like mushrooms or acid or even like cough pills. It was a trip, yes, but it was like a different kind of trip. It was like at least you can speak on shrooms, you can speak on cough pills at least a little bit. I couldn't even talk. Like this shit fucked me up. And after about, I'd say a couple hours of sitting in the woods by myself, and I knew in the back of my head that the more time that passed without me hitting that cart, or whatever the fuck it was, just the shroom vape, quote for quote, that the more time that passed, the more sober I got each time. And after about 2 hours, give or take, I walked out the woods and I said, okay, I'm going back. When I get back to the hotel, about 3/4 of the people that were there, so there's only about 5 of us left out of like fucking obviously 20, 25. There was only 5 of us left out of a lot of people. And eventually, we all went our separate ways. I actually wound up taking this quote-unquote shroom vape, and I actually wanted to smoke it again, strangely. I know I said there weren't cravings. It wasn't a craving because I saved it for about a week. But I wanted to smoke it again because I wanted to experience the high. So in my fucking truck, because it's a 4-door truck, behind the back seats, it's like there's like an inch gap in between the back headrest and the window. Enough where I could fit this shroom vape in there and push it down without people noticing it, for one, unless you're fucking driving behind, which probably wasn't a great idea because cops could have seen it and said, "What the fuck is that?" and pulled me over. But where the people in the truck couldn't find it. It was such a weird but fun trip at the time. It was before I realized how dangerous this shit was too. That like now until recently, like I realized how dangerous that actually was doing that shit. But I hid it back there because I wanted it for myself. I didn't want anybody else to have their hands on the shroom vape. And then about a week later, I remembered I had put it there. But by this time, I was done. I said, fuck that. And I picked up the shroom vape from behind where it was. I smashed it on the ground, in fact. Because even though I knew that it was bad, I didn't know what I know now about it. If I knew what I knew now, I wouldn't have done it in the first place. But I had a feeling, like in my gut, like my gut was telling me that how I was feeling the week prior, as I smashed this vape, was not normal, not good, not healthy, and I should never do it again and keep it the fuck away from me. So I smashed it on the ground. So don't kids, don't smoke shroom vapes. All right. Get a couple Altoids here. Just chewing Altoids instead of smoking cigarettes. Clean off cigarettes for 2 months now. Not bad. Okay, so that was a vape, okay? You've heard everything I said. Don't fucking smoke shroom vapes. Another thing you are not going to do, unless you want to die, of course, is Whippets. Now, Whippets are, if you've ever heard of something called laughing gas, it's essentially what Whippets are. It's nitrous oxide. They give it to patients in therapeutic and healthy amounts because doctors actually know what they're doing. For people who are getting their teeth extracted. So now you're gonna know where I'm kind of going with this story, and I'm gonna explain it to you guys and tell the whole story. But another word for Whippets is nerve gas, because it numbs your pain, but it also makes you extremely stupid, which is why when you're taking Whippets in real life, your high wears off in like 5 minutes. That's why when they have you at the dentist getting a tooth pulled, that they have you on a ventilator in between to keep you like loopy. Well, when you are not having it administered to you by a doctor, and instead are administering it yourself, you are putting your life in danger. Because if you guys know my whole channel, and by the time this blows up, because I know eventually it's going to blow up, and you're listening to this, there are tons of stories about me huffing what was called air duster. Now, it wasn't nitrous oxide, but it was still compressed air, which was, and while inhaling it, getting me buzzed or high for like 5 minutes. People, the fact that I have not died on the substances you're about to hear, on the substances you have heard on this YouTube channel, and just the inhalants and everything, and the fact that I even quit smoking, and I'm now getting a job, have a job, I'm beginning the hiring process for an on-the-books job besides just DoorDash, is a miracle. If I could tell you how many times I should have gotten laced with fentanyl, a couple times I've almost fallen off of cliffs and almost died that way. I should be crippled, have overdosed, or have freezed up lungs that I should be dead. Probably 30, 40 times over at this point. Which is why I count my lucky stars. I'm working now. I'm investing stocks. I'm going through legal battles with the woman that killed my mom. And I'm becoming eventually an owner-operator. My whole goal is to become, as I work and get more work experience, to become an /operator CDL driver. I make 10 grand a trip. Or maybe 5 grand, but it's a lot of money per trip. And it's good money, and it pays. Anyways. I have done Whippets. I did Whippets on 2 separate occasions. The first time I did Whippets, and this doesn't count Air Duster, by the way, was a couple months prior to this event, when I would smoke a hit of crack cocaine, or work, there's a better word we should use for it, I was with 3 other people. One of them would have a balloon ready for each person, and I would obviously have to do that for someone else when they were taking their hit of work. But someone would have a balloon already blown up, full of nitrous oxide, and I would blow my hit of work that I had just taken into the balloon, seal it off with my hand, hyperventilate so I could get oxygen into my lungs and not die, and then I would hyperventilate again in and out of the balloon until I was satisfied that the work and the whippet was extinguished and all in my brain. And that was to achieve what's called a bell ringer. And I'm sure if you know what a bell ringer is, you know what it is. I'm not going to even describe it. That's insane. But anyways, this time it was my good friends who I still am friends with today, who we're all still like not the wisest sometimes, but they do not smoke work, and that's why I love them. They're stoners and alcoholics, and occasionally they'll dabble in the psychedelic, or like we experimented with Whippets. And this was the first time I was experimenting Whippets, and the last time, by the way, because these aren't good either. But at the time, I thought it was going to be fucking great and something I could do all the time. Until I recently found out I could have died so many times doing the Air Duster and the Whippets. But anyways, literally, this is the same hotel, by the way, of the mushroom vape story just previous. We're staying at the same place. It's about maybe like 3 weeks after the mushroom vape story. Right down the street from the same hotel we're staying at. Literally, you pull out the hotel, make a right, go down maybe 2 blocks, and there's a store there, a store that sells things like incense and dab rigs and bongs and bowls and vapes and just all the smoking materials. They even had hash presses there and shit. It's a pretty fucking cool store. But what they also had was tanks, and I'm talking about like $50 giant tanks of nitrous oxide. And I spent $100. I buy 2 huge tanks of nitrous oxide. This was when the sun was setting. We go down right before the local party store closed. It was a party city, and that's actually, as of the last few months from today, in the past, that also, party cities are closing down. But at this time in 2024, Party City was open. And we bought a fuck ton of balloons. We went back to the hotel. In the hotel, it's 4 of us this time. All men. Usually there's women in there. This time it was just the dudes. For some reason. And we're blowing these balloons up and taking these, for lack of a better word, hits, because they weren't hits, because we were blowing up into the balloon and then inhaling. So we're basically inhaling a gas to get us fucked up. And it worked. I think there's a couple funny things. The first funny thing that happened, and this is my personal favorite, was my one buddy, and I was already fucking gone off the Whippets, looked at me after he had taken a huge fucking balloon of Whippet, looked right at me, and went, like that for like a good 2 minutes, to the point where I was high, right? And I said, yo! And I clapped my hands, and he like stood up, and he was like, whoa! Yeah, he was like fucking gone. My other buddy, who has not autism but like Asperger's, so we weren't just getting a for lack of a better word, a special person high. He's special, but he's wise enough to know what he's doing and make his own choices, if that makes sense. So we weren't just doing it to get him fucked up. Well, either it's because of what he has, or it's because of Who he is, I don't know. Either way, he was feeding. All of us were, yes, abusing it. But we were taking like 5-10 minutes in between each hit, minimum. This dude was like fiending for it. Like he was like inching towards us and shuffling and like shaking and shit for the Whippets. Well, basically, we ended up getting lucky as we always do, and nobody did anything extremely stupid to the point where like our hotel got knocked on, or we didn't get kicked out. We didn't. No, the cops didn't show up. Nothing fucking crazy happened. After this, I wanted more. And it was because, and I didn't want more till a couple days after, because it's nerve gas, and for being 23 years old, you're not going to believe me, I do have back pain. And I wanted more, because after about 2 days, my back pain came back. I was numb for 2 days. But my buddy told me that I should not do anymore, because he said we were lucky, because we did a lot of Whippets that night, that we were lucky to have not died. Because you could, it's been reported that people like with Air Duster and Whippets specifically have hit the thing and seemed perfectly fine, even like the first time they did it, and just dropped dead in front of their friends. It's been reported many times that people just drop dead from hitting this shit. That's fucking terrible. I'll tack on a couple stories at the end, because I got to stretch this to 25 minutes and 53 seconds. But at the same hotel, two things happened. One, this one guy, and we didn't know it till afterwards, me and my buddies one night walked out of our rooms, and there was like 8 cop cars in the driveway. And they were in the room right next to mine. And my buddy was on the other side. There was a room in between both of us. We didn't hear nothing. And maybe the cops woke us up. I don't know. Something woke me out of my sleep, and I called my buddy, and he was awake. So I walk out, and there's 8 police cars. The guy in the room in between me and my buddy, there's some random dude, had beat the shit out of his girlfriend. And understandably, she called the police while he was in the bathroom. He had beat her, like, not to a pulp, but like he had beat her real bad. And it became a whole scene. They actually arrested him and shit, and she was out there. We actually helped her after he left, and then kind of just left it at that, because we didn't want to get so involved, because the dude was a psychopath, clearly. I'll tell you guys another story. The last time I stayed at this hotel, right before I got my house, I was on thin ice with them, because if you guys know me, you know me. I don't give a fuck about much. Now I do, because I have a job and stuff, besides the point. I was so abrasive back, even just then, that, and I live in a residential community, I'm respectful. I was so abrasive back then that I blasted music in my truck, in my hotel room. At some point, my buddy and his girlfriend were staying at the hotel with me, and the one guy, the maintenance man, was being a creep and making strange comments to his girlfriend over and over again, so much to the point that I started, every time I got in the room, I pissed in the garbage can until they filled up. Well, they banned us, and they banned us from the hotel. This was a couple days after the incident I'm about to describe, and I think I know why they banned us ultimately, though. Because I remember the day that I paid for a room. I came back to the hotel after I stayed at another one for a couple days to get away from the original one, because there was fucking weirdos around there at that point. And I paid for a room. And when I went back to my room, I swiped my key card, opened the door, and it was locked from the inside. There were people staying in the room that I was renting at that point. And not only that, I don't do this often, but I swear on God, on my dead mother, on God, on Jesus Christ, on our Lord and Savior, on the big ball of energy in the sky, on everything I love, that not only were there people in the room I rented, but I went to rehab in Pennsylvania for my last rehab, and Linda's trying to claim I didn't complete it. Yes, I did. I completed that rehab, and there's paperwork to prove it. I had them send me the email of my completion certificate, so Linda has no argument. Fuck Linda, though. It was a girl that I had met in a Pennsylvania rehab, was up in Hamburg, New York, staying in the hotel room I had just purchased. And when I went back to the desk to complain about it, The dude and they were all queer. For some reason, they only hired fags at this place. It was like weird. Like all the hotel clerks were faggy men, which is fucking. I'll vomit. And one like giant marshmallow looking girl. And I'm not a body shamer, but when I went up to him and told him about it, he shrugged and said, "I don't know," and didn't say anything else. To the point where I had to walk out. I was so shocked. I told my buddy, and he believed me. I was so shocked. I got in my truck. I didn't even care that I just paid the money. I was just shocked. I got in my truck, and I drove away. I was gone. I said, fuck it. I said, fuck that. So, if you think I haven't been through the strangest things anybody's ever been through, you're dead wrong. But, yeah, no, that timing was almost so perfect, it's scary. Love you guys. You know the drill. Like, subscribe, share. Peace and love. Remember, stay strong, stay rad.